Hello everybody and welcome to my first voiceover video. This video is just going to be a complete tour of the Golden Sand Zoo. Now let me know how you like this kind of setup. I'm going to be using some pictures, little clips of stuff to show you the zoo, but I'm not necessarily going to give you just one straight video of me walking through it because, well, I find those videos boring, but maybe other people don't, and it'd be easier for me to just post a video of me walking through it without actually putting any voice in it. So, tell me how you like this setup and whether or not I should continue it. Special thanks to anyone who watched the original speed builds of this zoo. Let's get started. So starting off with the entrance, I don't consider myself very good at building buildings, so it's kind of bland. This is the overhead view of the entire zoo. There are 16 species of animals in this zoo, if we don't include the fish we have in the entranceway. So I'd say that's pretty good for the small zoo that I had, used for the map. Here is the entrance with all the vegetation. It has a couple benches around it. It's just kind of built for small-scale visiting, I guess. This is the entrance. Once again, I don't really know how to feel about it. Don't like it a whole lot. We have a photo, or painting, of a egret, I think it is. I'm not 100% certain. But on both sides you can check in. There's a computer, a desk where if you were a guest you would pay to come in, but other than that it's pretty simple. So here we have our first animals when you walk in. It's just a giant fish tank, a Central American fish. I didn't write down what kinds exactly, but there are quite a few in here. Just something simple to get started when you enter the zoo. Here are some North American fish. Now we have pumpkin seed, sunfish, bluegill, whatever you like to call them. There was a catfish in here. We also have some minnows swimming around. Simple stuff. Moving on to the southwest corner of the zoo, you would take a left when you enter. This is the only part of the zoo where I'd say there's real, terrain, variation in the terrain around the walkway. And it's nice, and I wish I would have added more of it, but I didn't. So here is where we have the otter exhibit. Now you will see here that inside it's pretty lively. We have 4 otters in here. Mel and Becky, our first 2 otters, had 2 or 3 pups in their lifetime. I think I adopted out one at one point. Obviously the otters are a little glitchy when it comes to the water. They'll kind of walk on top of it or they won't really be swimming. So, just ignore that. Moving on, if you walk up the path a little bit more, we have the bobcat exhibit. Now the bobcat exhibit was the first one I recorded off camera. And his name is Harvey. I didn't really come up with a whole story for him. He's just kind of, there. And he's got an indoor area. The first animal I built a real indoor area for, where he has water he can drink from. I really like to go for a kind of realistic look in my exhibits, but I want it to be functional for the animals because I personally hate all the red notifications you get. So right across from Harvey we have the Canadian lynx, and she doesn't have a name. Let me tell you, this exhibit was renovated so many times and changed. I don't even remember all the animals we had in here. I think we had a fox, a Mexican wolf, and a wolverine, but they just did not do fine. So I was like, you know what? We're just gonna make this bigger and give it to somebody who will like it. And it turns out the Canadian lynx liked it. And she uses the exhibit to its full potential. She uses the pond to drink. She will walk around and use the scratching post as well. Doesn't complain too much. And then right over here, if you walk down this little aisle, I guess you can call it. Ignore those bumps in the road. You know how Zoo Tycoon is. It's got some terrain issues. We have the raccoon exhibit. Now this was just really a filler species, largely because I wanted more aviaries, but I didn't care enough to find the room 100% for it. I don't know. Just wasn't my best work, but filled stuff in. Across the rack from the raccoon we have the wild boar. It's just wild pigs essentially. I didn't take any good photos of the exhibit from a distance, which my fault. You have 2 sows in here. They seem to do fine in here. They You know, they've got a little pond, they've got their food, they've got a little shelter where they can rest. Basically all their needs are being met while in there. So if you walk up the path again, you will find that in the northwest corner we have the pronghorn antelope. Now I recorded my building of this exhibit, but the file was corrupted, which is why there was not a speed build for it. So this is why you're getting the grand tour today. They have a little indoor area where they can rest, ignore the floating hay bale, and a little pool where they can drink water. The terrain is kind of hilly, so you know, it looks fine. Also, if you may have noticed, we have a little office by the links, and it's just got a computer and a desk and a sink, simple office stuff. Coming back down to the entrance, and you go to the southwest corner, take a right when you would enter the zoo, we have our first species. Once again, I'm going crazy for the vegetation, and I think it looks fine for the most part. So here we have Garfield and Maisie. This is a really old photo, and you'll see that the exhibit has kind of changed since then in the more recent photos. Garfield and Maisie have been here the whole time this zoo has been around, essentially. They've had at least 3 babies together. I've adopted out the first one. This is the first baby she had. I took a photo of it when it was born. And this is the most recent photo. We basically have we have a juvenile in there, it looks like, and we have a full-grown ewe, which I should adopt out. So, you know, go down the path some more. Another animal we made a speed build for was the white-tailed deer. Now, I didn't really try too much to showcase this one in this video, largely because I had already made a speed build for it, and if you're interested in looking at it, go ahead. There's more clips of it there, and an overhead view and stuff like that. So, overall, I didn't really like this exhibit. Building it was kind of annoying because the building wouldn't sit on the ground properly, and the ground would change, and it was just a mess. The only exhibit that I made a speed build for that really changed a whole lot was the moose exhibit. And this is because you will notice in the description of that video I said that moose are independent creatures, and in the future we would create separate pens, which is what I did. Now the zoo there's a little hole in the fence, I guess, a little spot where the fence doesn't meet, because it allows them to call to each other and communicate to keep their very little social needs met, but also, you know, functional reasons, and also give the idea of them being separated. And here we have the aviary, another aviary. Now this is for birds. I'm just gonna apologize now because I didn't really get into this one too much. I made it, and then I didn't record it either, and I'm just like, well, you know, this is how it'll be. So first bird we have an eagle. We have 3 aviaries, separate areas, but we only have 2 birds because, I don't know, I just only bought 2. And we have an eagle, simple female eagle, I think. And we have some common ravens here. Now the story between all these animals is they were supposed to be the eagle was supposed to have a broken wing, and the ravens were supposed to be illegally kept in captivity ravens who weren't very domestic, kind of aggressive towards people. Here we have the bison. Now I absolutely love bison. So if you just walk past the aviaries, I guess, take a right, or when you take a left when you would be entering that little square zone that you kind of see on the map there, you would see the bison. Now I love bison. The reason is because whenever I think of iconic American species, I think of bison. And so we have a cow and a bull in here. I think that's what you would call a female, a cow, I'm guessing, but you know, I could be wrong. We have the inside, they have a little shading building where they can get water. They have a really nice pond, might I add. Overall, I really like this exhibit. It might be my favorite in the whole zoo, not because I think it's beautiful, but because I just love bison so much. And if you walk up the path again, I like saying up the path if you haven't noticed, we have a cougar, mountain lion, puma, whatever you would like to call it, exhibit, and her name is Kita, and she is supposed to be a exotic pet situation, a lot like our bear Sanja in the last episode of the speed building. She uses exhibit very well to its full potential. She goes inside her building to get water. She uses her scratching post. She'll jump on the rock. She'll use her shade structure, which I'm really happy because that proves to me that it's a functional exhibit, but it also looks kind of nice. So here we have the bear den in the panther house, as I like to call it. It's basically where we can do quote-unquote veterinary work, and we can give them water so, you know, they don't complain. And it also looks kind of realistic with the whole gate idea. And this is Kita's, pretty simple. This is Sanja and Koto's indoor area. Lots of water again in straw, and it looks kind of like a little lab area, I guess. This is the overview, like, viewing area. Now that I realize it, I should have put another fence between the people and the rocks because, you know, there'd be somebody who would step over and try and jump in. I can tell you that much. This is the shade structure that she has also. Both bears have a shade structure, even though they have a building they can go in. There's tall grass in both exhibits for them to hide in. Once again, Sandra really uses this exhibit to its full potential. She has enrichment items scattered around. This is just another way. This is what it looks like from the bear's perspective if they were to look up at the building where they can be viewed better. This is Koto. Now, Koto was supposed to be an abused bear from the circus, and therefore he's a little untrusting of humans. This is I thought about this, and I thought this way they could meet their social needs, but they wouldn't attack each other, and it seems to work sort of fine, because they will roar at each other occasionally. Just another overview looking at the building. Ignore the lag and any of my, what's it called, cinematic views, I guess we can call it. Ignore that because it's a mess. Another overview of the whole exhibit. I like this exhibit. It looks fine to me. If we go past the bear exhibit up the path where the sign is, I don't know if you saw it earlier or not, but we have here the restaurant. Now, I don't consider myself good at building buildings because, well, you know, I think I just need more work on it. This restaurant idea was inspired by a lot of overhead restaurants I've seen before where you can overhead view. I like to, like, overhead view, I guess. And whenever I go anywhere to eat food, I love being up higher and being able to survey the area around me. Here's where you can view the bears better. This is the only place where guests can view Koto. As you know, he has his little space right there, sorry, it's hard to keep up with this. We have the elk exhibit. You will see here in this clip that they are very overpopulated. There is the herd of like 6 or 5 or whatever we had has really grown a little too much, and in the photo you will see, this overhead photo you'll see, it has greatly shrunk as I adopted out lots of them. So starting around now, I'm going to put in a lot of cinematic clips just because I know for some people voiceovers aren't necessarily the cup of tea. So this is where my voiceover will stop, and I'll talk a little bit more at the end.